On today's episode of the Drive-In Podcast, we have a mini express checkup with yours truly, Dr. O. We have our trailer roundup, and then we have a double review for Venom, Let There Be Carnage, and The Many Saints of Newark, the Sopranos prequel. So use the bathroom now, grab that popcorn, and enjoy the 57th episode of the Drive-In Podcast. Take one. Bada bing, bada boom. Episode 57 has arrived of the Drive-In Podcast. This is Dr. O, and I'm joined by Nez and Ricky Flicks. Boys, we had a slight scare this afternoon. Slight scare. I thought the podcast may have ceased to exist following all the social media mayhem that took place, but it looks like Facebook's back online, Instagram's back online. Let's say hypothetically, social media went kaput. What's your final take you spout off? Movie take you spout off before social media bit the dust? Flicks, anything?
It's a great question. Great question. Did not see this question coming.
I kind of freelanced it.
Bradley Cooper should have won best actor. And for Star is Born over Rami Malek.
That's the take you have?
No, I can't.
That's not a hot take, I don't think.
I'm trying to think of something, but you gave me. I didn't know the question was coming. I'm trying to think
you
of
have
something.
one tweet and you fire off Bradley Cooper.
I'm
best actor
thinking
for A Star is Born.
I don't know. Miracle is the best sports movie of all time.
Okay.
I'm trying. You got me off guard.
Nez, you got one? You think of any?
I can't think of anything right now.
I'm gonna throw out Watchmen as the most underrated superhero movie of all time. Watchmen is the most underrated superhero movie of all time.
It's not bad.
And I don't know. I just want to see what we had cooking there. I can see our brains are turning a little slow. We're deep in the workday right now. Nez, you seem like you had an insane Sunday, football Sunday. Jets. You want to give us any insight on your day?
Yeah, I mean, I was at the Jets game. I got to see the Jets win. I had great seats, 15th row behind the end zone. The missed field goal at the end that gave the Jets the win was towards my end zone. So we were having the best time yelling at the Titans fans, jumping around. I mean, it was just an amazing day. Overtime win when you go to see the Jets when they're supposed to lose. Everybody told me all week, terrible game to be at. You shouldn't go. Like, they're going to lose. They're going to get blown out. And what do you know? The Jets pull it out in overtime. And I'm right there to see it. The ball is flying towards me. He shanked it. Oh,
Fat Randy. Can't rely on Fat Randy.
That I remember Nez sent a Snapchat to the Drive-In Pod Snapchat group. And it was I think he's underselling his excitement level for this game. He stripped off his shirt. Our buddy John stripped off his shirt, who we will have on the podcast most likely for a Star Wars review. They went absolutely nutso. I'm surprised they didn't show up on a viral video. That might have been the last social media post I saw on Instagram, tweeted by Barstool Sports or something. Like, I could have seen you guys making it on there. That's how nuts you guys seemed.
Honestly, probably I was hugging people that I didn't know. There was like an older Italian guy in the crowd that became my best friend. One thing about going to sporting events is that I really feel bad if I'm like drinking a little bit because I forget not to curse. Like, I was like, that's effing, I'm dropping F-bombs left and right. And then I just like looked and there was like a 6-year-old kid with his dad in front of me. And they're just watching the game, ignoring me. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm sorry. So
at least you don't know him.
Yeah, that's true. But it was an amazing experience. I honestly wanted to storm the field afterwards. I was ecstatic.
After a regular season win, that's where we're at with the Jets.
Yeah, I was ecstatic when we had the lead. It was the first lead that we've had in all season. We haven't been in the lead all season. There's a video of me. I'm about to cry. I'm like, we're winning a game. Like, I'm so happy.
And then they just lose it once that field goal missed.
Oh my God,
we were so relieved.
We were chanting. You know what? The really, really stupidness. I wouldn't have done this if I wasn't drinking. This was a really bad idea. But when the Jets had the ball with 3 minutes left, I think game's over. No way we're going to overtime. And I'm chanting, nah, 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 hey, 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 goodbye.
Jeez.
And then they tied the game.
Jinx. You could have been a jinx.
That was really bad. But speaking of jinxes, when I ripped my shirt off the first time to celebrate a touchdown, I put it on backwards and I didn't quite notice for like a couple minutes. But then I was like, then we threw
On
another
tailgate.
touchdown and I had to leave which meant that I had to leave my jersey on backwards until the end of the game, obviously.
No choice. No choice. You had to.
I thought when you were saying, speaking of jinx, I thought you were going to talk about Robert Durst.
the documentary there.
Yeah.
I just watched the Jinx, dude. That documentary is fire. And then another take I would also spout, now that you brought up the Jinx, is I would say that is the most, yet another underrated tweet, the most underrated theme song to any like movie, TV show, whatever it is. That was fire. Like that song is great. I love watching that documentary just for that beginning too. A revolutionary like documentary. If you
Worst
guys
hot
haven't
mic in history.
Yeah, he was the Tom Brenneman before Tom Brenneman.
But 1,000 much worse.
Yes.
What is
much,
this
much
about?
worse.
I don't know what this is about.
This guy who's like an heir to a New York like a multimillionaire like type like real estate company. He's an heir to it, and he's accused of murder in one I guess in the year 2000, around there, maybe a little bit later. I think it's around 2000. But he also has been accused of the disappearance of his wife back in the 80s. So it was like it's a if you haven't seen it, it's a wild ride. I'd highly recommend it.
What's the hot mic?
You have to see.
No, we can't say it. We can't.
You can't say it. Okay.
That's the whole reason to
say it.
watch it.
You have to watch it.
It's
All right.
revolutionary, dude. It's like it solves a crime. It solves the whole case in the documentary. It's unbelievable.
Oh my
it's like
gosh.
it's like what podcasts, like true crime podcasts, kind of strive for today. It was the first to ever do that, and I would say I would put it up there. I would say it's the best like murder documentary series I've ever seen. I would say it.
All right.
Ricky,
It's up
Flex,
there.
I don't know. I'm just full of hot takes right now. I'm just spewing. Like,
It's better.
You can see the flames are like going out of my head right now. It's hot takes.
I know what I would say. It's not a movie. I have a hot take now. Oh, and I don't know if it's that hot of a take. It's also not a movie one, but I always have to say this. The Office is better than Parks and Rec, and the people who say that are just absolutely insane.
Yeah, agreed.
Yes, I would say it's more of a hot take if you said Parks and Rec was better than The Office.
Yeah, I agree with
there's
that.
a following. There's people that say that, and it's unbelievable.
Yeah, that's a scorching hot take, and that's probably led to the demise of social media in the past 12 hours.
Exactly.
Ricky, any hot takes before we get on to the checkup here? Redemption.
I thought we were over this. I thought
I was
this
giving
was
you time
over.
to think.
Yeah, dang it.
I'm like a teacher putting you on the spot in the back of the class when they're not paying attention.
Yeah, exactly. That's literally exactly what's going on. Yeah. No, that's a struggle bus over here.
Well, I'll come back to you at the end of the podcast.
No.
I want a steaming hot take. All right, let's get to the checkup. What do you guys say?
Just do it.
Short one this week. The Bodyguard remake is putting a new spin on its lead character. New director Matthew Lopez discussed his plans for the remake and plans on using the movie to bring a Latin presence to cinemas. He said, quote, "Instead of focusing on an established star like the one Whitney Houston played, this is about a young Latina performer who has just become famous. It's about how her life has changed because she is an overnight sensation. In the 21st century, that means she's in immediate need of protection. It was important to me to use this opportunity to get Latin faces up on that screen and to get their stories told in a big way." Next on the checkup, James Gunn, some superhero news, says he's developing another DC project besides Peacemaker, the spinoff from the Suicide Squad. President of DC Films, Walter Hamada, a controversial figure, has said, quote, "He'll be back. We have more stuff planned." Although James Gunn hasn't hinted at what this mysterious new project is, he did tease in an interview with Screen Rant that there's another corner of the DC universe he'd like to explore. It's not what anybody would expect, I'll tell you that much. And then I'll just bring in the trailer roundup here with the short checkup. We got Andrew Garfield, Alexander Shipp, and Vanessa Hudgens starring in the new trailer for Lin-Manuel Miranda's Tick, Tick, Boom. The film's set to release on November 19th on Netflix. And then George Mackay thinks he is a wolf in a human body in the first trailer for Wolf. The film releases on December 3rd in theaters. All right, Ricky Flex. I think we got to start out with James Gunn, new project for DC. He's wrapping up Guardians of the Galaxy with Marvel, with Guardians of the Galaxy 3, coming off the Suicide Squad. Now he's got Peacemaker. What do you want to see him tackle next?
I'm a little surprised with the checkup. Not gonna lie, I didn't check over it. I'm just saying, when I heard James Gunn, I thought it was gonna be about the MCU character gonna be in the holiday special.
Good
That's
point
what
too.
That's what I thought it was gonna be about. But DC project, didn't we? We did talk about this before, with Suicide Squad, potentially a Suicide Squad 2 or a new DC project. I honestly don't know. Again, on the spot, I'm failing. I'm failing.
I'm
failing.
testing your wits right now.
And I'm just absolutely failing.
You're going to be on your toes for the rest of this podcast. You never know what I'm going to throw at you, like freaking fireballs. You got to be catching them left and right, okay?
No. No. We're just not,
but it's going to be an obscure character. So it's like maybe like a I could see him like doing maybe, you know how we had like a Joker movie with obviously a very serious type of role and a very serious dark edge type movie. Maybe we get a more like fun, like anti-hero type movie from James Gunn, maybe a lower level Batman villain. Like we talked about like Mr. Freeze, that would be like a darker one, but like maybe, I don't know, maybe like a Riddler movie. I can see him doing something like that. It wouldn't happen because we're getting the Riddler and the Batman, but it's just fascinating to see that he is so obsessed also with superhero movies. You would think the man would move on, right? And go on to bigger and better things, try and improve himself. But we know he's a great superhero director, but I guess he's just like sticking to what he's good at.
Mm-hmm. Okay. If we want to, I'll throw out some names here for DC characters. Green Lantern would be interesting. He has experience out in space. Green Lantern, it depends on which one. I know there's a series coming out, so probably not this one. So, but Hal Jordan could be a funny character. You saw in Ryan Reynolds, and DC animated series could be an interesting character James Gunn could tackle. Martian Manhunter, I love that character in the DC animated series. You saw a glimpse of it in Snyder Cut. Restore the Snyderverse still, but looks like it's not going to happen. That's a character I would love to explore. Again, outer space elements. James Gunn has experience with that with Guardians. That's another one I would say.
Maybe like, dude, how about this? I got an idea. The man loves team up movies, right? Maybe a younger, immature audience. Maybe a Teen Titans movie.
Teen Titans.
Like a Teen Titans.
Well, the Titans show is doing really well on HBO Max.
Yeah, but I don't. If they make it officially part of like this DCEU, I don't know if they consider Titans that, and it could because of the multiverse that's going to set up in the Flash. But I think he could do something cool with that characters like Beast Boy and like Cyborg, and more like fun Cyborg, less serious one that we got in the Snyder Cut and in whenever we've seen him, right? The original Justice League. So I'm kind of appealed by that. Nez, do you have any like suggestions maybe for what Gunn should attack next?
No, but I really think I guess I don't blame him for doing all these superhero movies. He's playing both sides of the aisle.
Getting that money.
He's making tons of money. DC, Marvel going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth.
Snip, snap, snip, snap.
He's making a lot of money. But I would like to see him make something that's not a superhero movie. I think that he could do something really cool. But yeah, in terms of things that he would do another DC project, I think Teen Titans is actually a sick idea. So I'm just gonna steal that one. Yeah,
we'll tag James Gunn in that clip. I'll cut up for us, and then
friend of the pod.
See if we get some more interaction from our boy. And then Ricky Flex brought up a great point that I forgot to include because I'm a dummy. But the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special is supposed to incorporate one of the most well-known. I think that was the quote he used. Ricky Flex, do you have the quote? He said the greatest.
He said like the greatest.
One of the greatest Marvel characters will be incorporated into the holiday special for Guardians of the Galaxy, which I'm looking forward to. And I ranked in my top 5 most anticipated projects from Disney Investors Day, if you recall.
Yes, and I think this one's obvious, at least to me. Doctor, I don't know if you agree, Nez.
No.
Judging by the end of Guardians of the Galaxy 2, I think it should be pretty obvious.
Are you thinking Adam Warlock here?
Yeah.
Yes. Aisha connection from Guardians 2. I think that's pretty apparent that that's going to be what it is based on. And James Gunn has said in the past that he was supposed to be in Guardians 2, but the cast was just so full and the story was so full that he couldn't do it. So I think it's just kind of an easy transition over to Adam Warlock here.
Yeah, but do you think he would give it away like that? Do you think he's like throwing a little he's trying to like misdirection from the audience? Maybe it's not Adam Warlock. Maybe he's saving him for Guardians of the Galaxy 3. But like, it's got to be him, right?
Yeah, like again, like he said in the past, Adam Warlock's one of his favorite MCU characters or Marvel characters, and he was supposed to be like a major or have a role in Guardians 2, but just from the story and cast being so full already, like full of characters, just it was minimized. So it's just clear that he's going to use him at some point, and him saying this already, saying one of the greatest characters and it's one of his favorites here, it just has to be Adam Warlock with the already connection with Aisha, or whatever how you pronounce it, the Golden Princess.
Yeah, Elizabeth Debicki.
Right.
Tennant.
Tennant.
Tallest.
That's a take, actor. I would say. Tennant is good.
The tallest.
Take
that's good. There it is.
Tennant is good.
Yeah, that's that's definitely a hot take at this time. But Elizabeth Debicki might be like the tallest actress who's ever lived. She's a giant. She is huge. She's huge in Tenet, dude. Have you ever seen her next to John David Washington? You look like a dwarf next to her. An absolute dwarf.
Over under. What do we? Your guesses for how tall she is, both of you?
6'1".
6'1". Nez
5'11".
She's 6'3".
Oh my God, she's the biggest woman ever, dude. 6'3".
Tallest.
She's in the WNBA. Like that's insanely tall.
I did not
for an actress.
All right, how tall is Robert Pattinson? She did not look taller than Robert Pattinson.
I was blown away. I thought I was gonna nail the 6'1", but 6'3". Wow.
See, Robert Pattinson's 6'1".
Wow.
So you're telling me
dwarfs Batman.
Debicki was taller than Pattinson and Tenet? Did they put like,
She's almost a foot taller than me, bro. That's embarrassing.
That's crazy. It's not embarrassing. It's just humans.
Like, oh no, it's embarrassing, dude. It's definitely embarrassing.
You want to know? Want to know another Twitter take I thought of?
Now he's on fire. Now he's rolling.
The Watch is a great comedy. Great.
I like that. Vince Vaughn. Yeah. Vince Vaughn. Jonah Hill.
Effing pun. I guess that's not what you were expecting.
Great. Now Ricky can't control himself because he has so many takes. So I think I also want to go into the trailer roundup a little bit. I guess like the Adam Warlock's the farthest that conversation was really going to go. But I was fascinated by the Tick Tick Boom musical that's coming up. Nez, this is kind of up your alley. Do you know this movie is about Jonathan Larson, excuse me. And Nez, does that name ring a bell at all to you?
No.
So Jonathan Larson. So Tick Tick Boom is a musical from Lin-Manuel Miranda, starring Andrew Garfield. Andrew Garfield is playing this guy named Jonathan Larson. He is the creator of Rent.
Oh.
Musical. So the Tick Tick Boom is like that. He actually wrote Tick Tick Boom, the musical. He died only at the age of 35. So he lived a very hard life, impoverished life, and then he hit it big with Rent. And Tick Tick Boom is kind of like autobiographical. So I'm actually fascinated by this. It seems like Andrew Garfield is kind of on the up and up right now after he's disappeared. Like it's been a while.
There was other news today with Andrew Garfield.
Yeah, I was just about to bring it up. Eyes of Tammy Faye. He's getting pushed for an Oscar. And now we have Tick Tick Boom, which I assume he's going to be pushed for another Oscar. And then we're looking at a potential appearance in Spider-Man No Way Home.
The man is back.
He absolutely is back, dude. And can you imagine what if he gets a double nomination here? Highly unlikely, but I think it's possible.
Yeah, and in a COVID year where less performances, maybe perhaps he can sneak into a supporting Oscar nom here. I don't know. And also, I just had to say off this trailer, this is something where obviously we had In the Heights. Nez, you loved it. Not necessarily up my alley with the singing while talking and that type of musical there. This looks like more up my alley, where it's a story with singing involved. That is what I like to see. And Andrew Garfield sounds like he has some decent pipes. He is a great singer. If that's actually him, like, wow. So I'm looking forward to this a lot.
Dude, like those songs were fire too. If you listen to the trailer, they sound so good. It's like I'm really my excitement has been tuned up for that movie, and now I'm like looking forward to seeing it. Hopefully, I think it's only gonna be in theaters though. If I recall, I don't think it's not HBO Max, and I don't think it's any other streaming service. So that'll be cool. And then I really want to bring up George Mackay really quick.
Predictors.
Thermometer predictor.
There's an official trailer, full trailer.
Yeah. So Andrew Garfield, Tick Tick Boom, Ricky Flex. What are you giving it?
88.
88 from Flicks. Nez, give us a number, dude.
70.
Wow.
70. I'm going with an 86. 86. I'm in a similar boat as Ricky Flicks. After In the Heights. It could be better than In the Heights, though. I think it will be better than In the Heights. I think that will.
I don't think it will.
The movie. You don't think it'd be better than the movie In the Heights?
No.
Oh, we know Nez is a huge fan of that movie. And lastly, to wrap up the trailer roundup, George Mackay thinks he's a wolf. Is the weirdest trailer maybe of the year so far.
Dude, what the heck was that?
He literally goes to this. It's like a human versus nature type of thing, and he's like a scientist basically recruits these humans that want to be like another animal, and then he falls in love, and then he wants to eat the person he's in love. And this was my pick to be the next the young James Bond. Though maybe the worst pick of all time.
That was the weirdest trailer I've ever seen in my life.
It was scary. I was like, this is gonna keep me up.
Right when he was like supposed to be like a predator and she's like a prey. I was like, oh, she eats him at the end, or he eats her at the end. That's immediately what I thought, and that's like the movie. Don't have to see it.
I'm out. I'm out on it, and I like George Mackay, especially after 1917, but I can't defend him there, not at all. So that does it for the trailer roundup. That does it for the checkup. Let's now move on to our review of Venom: Let There Be Carnage. Ricky Flicks, we are reviewing Venom 2. Me and you this week. No Nez for the Venom Let There Be Carnage review, starring Tom Hardy, starring Woody Harrelson, Naomi Harris, Michelle Williams, directed by Andy Serkis in his first major feature, first blockbuster. The man, the king of CGI himself. Venom Let There Be Carnage has a 59% on Rotten Tomatoes, has an 86% audience score. IMDb with a 6.7 out of 10. I'm going to give the synopsis here, and then we're going to dive in to two of the most electric characters in comic book history. So, synopsis reads, Eddie Brock is still struggling to coexist with the shape-shifting extraterrestrial Venom when deranged serial killer Cletus Cassidy also becomes host to an alien symbiote. Brock and Venom must put aside their differences to stop Cletus Cassidy's reign of terror as Carnage. All right. So the first movie, Venom, comes out 2018, starring Tom Hardy, debuts with 30% on Rotten Tomatoes, makes $800 million at the box office, a
30
lucrative film for Sony, an absolute smash where you knew a sequel was coming. The post-credit, Venom introduces Cletus Cassidy, Woody Harrelson with his crazy red hair, which somehow he loses his curls for this one.
They
I don't know if he just got some.
it.
I think he just started to use some product somehow when he was in Ravencroft prison. So Ricky Flex, where I want to start here, I want to go over our histories with the character, because I think it's important before we talk about this movie to understand the importance of these two characters with Marvel, with their associations with Spider-Man and in this Sony universe. So Ricky Flex, what's your history with Venom and Carnage? Maybe we start off with Venom. Maybe did you grow up with them? Did you read the comic books? Do you like the character? Hit us with it.
Okay, well, I think it's gonna be similar to yours because obviously we lived in the same household. But obviously the Spider-Man animated series, like Venom, Eddie Brock, like there wasn't this two separate things. Like there wasn't a Venom.
There's no we are Venom. It's just Venom.
Right. It was so this Tom Hardy and Venom like inside his mind / like, you know what I'm saying? Like there's an actual thing talking to him.
There's not he wasn't an alien like that was actually had its own mind. It did kind of like it controlled Eddie Brock. It did like come a part of him and take control of him, but Eddie Brock still could not communicate when Venom was controlling him.
Right. And there wasn't like Venom leaving his body and like his head coming out and talking to Eddie Brock.
No.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like there's not like an actual like two separate, like obviously it takes control and things like that, but like not like that, like this like personality where this like movie felt like a rom-com, you know what I mean? There wasn't any of that, and like the relationship issues that we see in this movie. So there definitely wasn't any of that I grew up on, but I love the character as in I think it's just a great counterpart to a Spider-Man. And really the movie, like I guess I'll stop there and give you the rest of the floor to answer your question.
Yeah, so Venom, he was arguably my favorite like comic book villain as a kid. I didn't read a ton of the comic books, I should say. I watched the animated series. My dad passed down some of my comic books. I was because he had a Spider-Man collection. I always wanted to like check out the ones that had Venom in it because Venom was so imposing. I thought he looked cool with the black suit. He was like a more badass Spider-Man, like anti-hero type, but I knew him more as a villain. I found it interesting because he doesn't have like the webs, right? That Spider-Man does, expect in the 2018 one. But growing up, it seemed like he still like slung webs, just like Spider-Man. Yeah. And then so going along with that, I love the way he looked in Spider-Man 3, played by Topher Grace, a very forgettable Eddie Brock. So it kind of, and you don't have the connection to Spider-Man in 2018 Venom with Tom Hardy. So he doesn't have the webs, right? He's just slinging Venom at it, like literal Venom to like swing. If he's going to swing, a lot of times he's just a monster jumping from building to building. And then Carnage. Carnage is a fascinating character and a dark character. Just like I grew up with Venom being a much darker character than it's being portrayed in these movies. Carnage is a literal serial killer, right? Cletus Cassidy, serial killer in Ravencroft. They changed up the origin to Cletus Cassidy in this movie a tad. I would say more than a tad in the terms of how he becomes a symbiote. He is just someone that I've been looking forward to seeing on the screen for so long. I was hoping at some point you would get a Venom, Carnage, and Spider-Man movie in one. But based on this movie, it's going to be hard to actually imagine that. I thought this could have had an R rating. I think I kind of want to start there, Ricky Flicks, after like going through these backgrounds. I think it should have had the R rating because you really could explore these characters, the darkness to them. I know you got to make it bankable, especially because the first one made $800 million. But what do you think about the rating for this movie? And do you think they should have taken it to that R level?
Definitely think for a better movie, they should have, but I do think they did it so they can get more box office numbers, more people to see it as well. And like it did have its F-bombs, it did have its gory scenes that seemed like, wow, is this rated? Like, it made you question, is this rated R? Like, did I actually see it on rated? But then there are obviously the corny, campy scenes throughout and dialogue. It was like, oh yeah, this is definitely not a rated R type movie. Like, this is like something that kids could see as well. So it definitely had that kind of identity issue, I think, throughout the movie, where it had its campy moments, but you're sitting back and saying, hey, I would like to see a little more here. I think there could have been a lot more that could have been done, not just for Venom or not just for Carnage, but for both here. And I think I'll stop there and give it back to you, just saying, like, I wasn't disappointed with the movie, as in I did enjoy it. I did think the CGI like fight fest that we like to call them, I did think they were good and they were gory enough. I'm not saying they're not gory or not gory enough. I'm just saying I did like them. I just think that as a story, it could have been better if it was rated R, if that makes sense.
Yes, I think, yeah, I agree too, because you could show the background of Cletus Cassidy. You had a very brief background to his character. You showed him and his relationship to Shriek, played by Naomi Harris. But I think after the first Venom film, I liked it more than critics did. And I think I'm on the opposite spectrum now, where I don't think as highly about this movie as the critics or in the audiences think about this movie. I kind of liked how the first one, it had a dark edge to it, to a point. Yes, it had the comic relief, but I think where the second one kind of falls off is that comic relief aspect, where it literally consumes the movie to the point where you have Venom cracking jokes maybe every 2 minutes. Maybe even less. Like, it's just, and I would say they're hitting about half the time. And then they, as you said before, you brought up like the romantic comedy aspect. It's like the symbiote with Eddie Brock, how they interact with one another, how they break up, then they get back together. Like, they made it in like to like almost like too much of a comedic level when you have a literal serial killer who is now interacting with this symbiote, and it takes away from like, oh my God, like the seriousness, the danger like of this movie, of this character. So I think that really turned me off. So I mean, especially after the first one, when you have Riz Ahmed, which is zero laughs whatsoever. He's one that is like, he's supposed to be menacing. I think Woody Harrelson had the potential to bring that to this character, but he came off as a bit campy to me. So I think where I want to go with this is go into like the performances of Harrelson and Hardy. Do you think they worked? And did you think they had enough time on screen with one another?
I think Woody Harrelson, I think he was good. I think he was good as a serial killer. Like, obviously he had his corny parts, especially when he did get his powers. I think that was a kind of a cringy scene there. Talking about Eddie Brock's blood, and a couple other things throughout, like with Naomi Harris. But I didn't think he was bad. I obviously think that without because Venom, throughout the movie, you see Venom and Tom Hardy, Eddie Brock's character, or Eddie Brock, they have that relationship throughout. You don't really get the same feel for Carnage and Cletus Cassidy, Woody Harrelson. So he didn't really get that opportunity to have that relationship. There was somewhat saying like, you do this for me, I do this for you, but that's pretty much it. That's all you got out of that relationship, out of the symbiote and its host, Woody Harrelson. So I don't think it was the same opportunities there. Would have been interesting to see more of a backstory behind that character for him to evolve, but you didn't get that. So I think for the limited story and plot lines with that character, I think that Woody Harrelson was decent.
I thought it was interesting that, like, you're right, we didn't get like the same interactions Venom has with Tom Hardy, Eddie Brock, as Cletus Cassidy has with Carnage, the symbiote. Like, they didn't have that primarily because a lot of times Carnage is next to Shriek for a lot of the movie, and Shriek can't like be around Carnage, the symbiote. So it's like, so in my opinion, it almost would have been better off you didn't have this character Shriek in the movie at all.
Completely agree. It felt like, for me, not to jump plots here or jump points here, but going to Shriek, Naomi Harris here, this movie was only 90 minutes. This movie was only 90 minutes, and I felt like her character was added just to make this scene longer. That was my opinion. Or to somehow make it so Venom could beat Carnage at the end. That because there's no other way to beat him, because they both are affected by sound. They're both are affected. So it was shown like, oh, Venom's relationship with Eddie Brock is stronger than Carnage's relationship with Cletus because of Shriek. But it's like, you could have done something else. I think that it just ate up screen time a lot. And especially in the beginning, like when we got the first scene of the movie is a flashback to Naomi Harris and Cletus as younger kids or whatever in that first initial like the home that they're in. It just felt like it was eating up screen time, and just to get to the end, which was a huge CGI fight fest between Venom and Carnage.
I thought that Shriek was in the movie for like motivation for Woody Harrelson's character. Like that is like a way that he like gets out and he communicates with Tom Hardy. Like he said, he puts out that quote to get her attention and things like that. And I also think it's fan service. I think a lot of people that like this movie, it's not the traditional Venom in terms of what we've seen in like Spider-Man 3 or in the animated series, but rather the comic book fans. And Shriek does have a presence in the Venom and Carnage comic books. So I think that was more of also just fan service. Like it's just making them happy for having it. But I don't think it was a way to make the film longer. It felt like, honestly, I think we should go into the film's length because this has like studio interference written all over it, in my opinion.
Okay, well, one last thing. I do agree with you on that, like the fan service. I see your point there. But going back to your first point with the motive, I think the motive was Eddie Brock put him on death row. That was the motive. You didn't.
No. I'm saying, yes, for him to like get back at Venom. I'm saying like he wants to, when he leaves prison, he wants to get. He had two things to do. He had two motives. Like he wanted to get out of prison. He wanted to get Eddie Brock back, but he wanted to break Shriek out as well.
Yeah, yes, but I'm just saying, I don't think you needed to.
Yes, I don't think so either. And then I think that's where I think the 90 minutes comes into play too. Okay. Also, too many classic Spider-Man issues, having too many issues, too many villains, in one movie. But the 90 minutes, I mean, I think the editing of this movie was bad. Like it was just cutting from scene to scene. We have like a 30-second scene here. Okay, this is the backstory for Shriek. 30 seconds. Cletus Cassidy. 30 seconds for him. Let's go. Okay, 30 seconds. Okay, now we're on to Tom Hardy. Like it's just like you're trying to like. I felt like they're trying to kick my ass out of the theater. It's like they don't even want me to stay and watch it, other than the fact that you want to hear Venom talk and crack his jokes, and you want to watch this huge CGI like fest, right? From Andy Serkis, the king of CGI. So I think Andy Serkis, I can't see him watching this movie and been like, yes, like that was what we were going for. I can't, like the guy that is one of the most iconic CGI characters with Lord of the Rings, right? And like Planet of the Apes. There's no way he made those movies. Watch what he did with this and was like comfortable with what he was putting out there. That's why I think it has studio interference written all over it.
It's just, I see what you're saying, and I would agree with you, except in these interviews, he's a great actor then, because like, it seems like him and Tom Hardy are like in love with this movie. They think it's perfect.
It's crazy.
They do. Like, am I wrong? Like in these interviews, it seems like he is proud of this work. He's proud of what he's done here. And but you're saying, I agree with you, saying that he shouldn't be necessarily. I do think that his core, like the CGI aspects, like what he's played, obviously Lord of the Rings and Caesar and Planet of the Apes, as you said, I think they work here. But everything else in this movie, the actual plot, the actual movie, like editing and everything else associated with it, besides the CGI aspects, I thought was not good.
Yeah. I mean, the editing was an issue. The first one, the CGI was not on point, in my opinion. But I think this one, they actually nailed it because you have two iconic characters with Venom and Carnage. It did come off cool when they were battling on screen. There were, and I don't mean to say, like we say it's corny and everything. Some of the laughs did hit. There were some funny moments with
hit
Venom,
or miss moments.
I would actually argue that Tom Hardy was better as the voice than he was as acting as Eddie Brock.
Wow.
Because there was no substance to these characters. There's no backstory to these characters, specifically Carnage. There's like nothing to him. They gave him the 30 seconds and the terrible cuts to like the present day and everything. Like you could afford to take 5 minutes to go over a character that Marvel fans want to see as much on screen as possible. They want to see Cletus Cassidy on screen. They don't just want to see Venom talking the entire time. We want to see this monster turn into yet another monster, this serial killer, into this symbiote. So it just made no sense to me why they wanted to rush this when they could have taken the time. I don't know if that was a sharp criticism of the first movie and they wanted to adjust it. It drove me insane.
And I think in the first movie, like Riz Ahmed, you saw like, oh, he wanted the symbiotes to do his like cancer research or whatever, like science research. Like you saw that, you got that backstory with that villain. Here, it's kind of like they just rushed it saying, oh, he's a serial killer, like in prison for the rest of his life. He somehow has
killing nobody.
He has an association with Eddie Brock and they meet a couple of times, but that wasn't explained. And then Eddie Brock finds like where the bodies are and then death row. And that's where the movie comes in. But that initial interaction made no sense. It made no sense and it hurt the movie in the beginning. And it's similar to Venom 1 and also this one with Michelle Williams' character, where it just jumps to post-relationship. They broke up, and that's where the first one started. And that relationship between Michelle Williams and Eddie Brock, it's like, I don't know, like it's never sold for me. It just never is. And it's because you never got that experience when they were together. You just never did. So it's just never sold. Really struggled for me in this movie and also in the previous one. And it's going to continue because you're never going to get a prequel to it. So you're already starting at a lower tier, at least for me, with those relationships.
Frustrating. And it's crazy that you don't want to spend a lot of time with these actors giving a backstory. And I was talking to you afterwards when we like coming out of the theater. There are 4 Academy Award nominees that are acting in this movie: Woody Harrelson, Tom Hardy, Michelle Williams, Naomi Harris. 4. And the only one you get substantial amount of screen time with, I would say to an appropriate amount, is Tom Hardy because he is the star. Sure. And I felt like, Shriek, if you're going to do the fan service thing, you're going to introduce this character. Let us know about the character. Give us like why she's so like connected with Cletus Cassidy. Yes, you get the idea that he was the only one that actually supported her for the movie. Like he was only when they were in that like orphanage, he was the only one that was like by her side and things like that. But there could have been so much more that went into it, where it's like right after Carnage gets broken out, where does he go? He saves Shriek. That's what he does immediately, you know? So it's just, I felt like there could have been so much more with these actors. Let them kind of like show out a little bit. Let them like do their thing. Don't worry so much about the laughs and the CGI. Just let them go to work, because now comic book movies, they're graded on such a higher level than they used to be. It's like they're at the point now where you're looking for great performances. You're not just looking to see them, how they look in a costume, the fight sequences.
Yeah, you have higher expectations because now like this is ingrained in Hollywood. Now people in their acting primes are now doing superhero films, where it used to be people that were on that cusp or maybe on the downturn of their career would do an acting role, or just on the come up, right? They would do a superhero film. Now it's like, if you're hot in Hollywood, you're doing a superhero movie. That's what you're doing. You're cashing in. Exactly. You have Christian Bale doing it, Mahershala Ali, Ethan Hawke, Oscar Isaac, all these big time Hollywood actors and actresses. They're doing it now after, like, when their career's in their prime. So you have higher expectations of these performances and of these movies. And for me, like, this just didn't hit.
And it's a part of their legacy too. You know, it's a huge part of their legacy when they do these movies. It's so hard. You can't do a throwaway superhero movie anymore, because that's what most mainstream audiences, that's what they're watching. And if they only know you from that, doesn't matter how many Oscars you've been nominated for, doesn't matter what movies or directors you worked with. If the only movie you've done is Venom and you bombing it, that's what you're remembered for. It's crazy.
And like now we're getting superheroes like 2019 or supervillains. Joker wins an Oscar. You're saying Robert Pattinson's going to get nominated for an Oscar. Like, that's just where we are right now. You're saying a Batman's going to get nominated for an Oscar.
Stand by.
That's insane. Yeah, I'm not saying to back away. I'm just saying, like, those are the expectations we're setting. It's crazy. So this one where it doesn't take itself too seriously with the Venom voice that Tom Hardy does, all the just comments from Venom and everything like that, all the campy moments. It's not taking itself seriously. You don't have to, but those just the expectations of us. Like maybe we have to, as an industry or as an audience, have to dial it back or something. We can't get both here.
Yeah, we're too serious. And then if we look at, it's crazy also when I look at Twitter and I look at the response to this movie. So it's crazy. It's like a superhero movie. You're always going to have people that are loyal to the character, loyal to the studio, no matter what.
Of course.
So it's like when you have like Venom 1, people love Venom, only 30% of Rotten Tomatoes. Here you have Rotten Tomatoes reaching a 60%. Discussing Film is saying it's not as great of a movie, but it does have that 60%. Then you people in the replies that I'm looking at, they are just going crazy saying it's a masterpiece. I'm like, dude, have we not lived in this universe where 23, 24, 25 Marvel projects have been made within the MCU? And then you compare what that, like even the mid-tier projects to what I just watched in Venom 2, it's not even comparable. Like it really isn't. Like if I even compare this to like an Ant-Man, like Ant-Man was just a better movie than Venom 2. Venom 2 has the appealing characters. It has the actors I want to see more, but it didn't have, like, Ant-Man had a story. Ant-Man gave background information, right? And it just had me more excited. And then it had the characters I was invested in compared to Venom, where I get to finally see Carnage, and all of a sudden it doesn't look like I'm going to see him in a third movie. You know, it's just like it's crazy. And then like that brings me up to my next question. If Tom Holland wasn't technically a part of this universe, do you think a third movie would you be interested in actually watching a third movie with Eddie Brock and no Tom Holland?
So I love Tom Hardy. So and the Venom character itself. So I would see it. Would I be happy and be excited to see it? No. And even with this one, I was excited to see the Carnage and Venom aspect of it. But what was the driving force of me lugging myself to the movie theater to see it? Wasn't that. It was for the post-credit scene. It was for the post-credit scene because I was so interested to see what is it going to be. Right. Tom Hardy saying, don't spoil it. Don't spoil the movie. Don't spoil the post-credit scene, he's saying. So the most exciting part of this movie is not even in the movie. That's not good. That's not good for a trilogy.
Terrible. Like, it's not good whatsoever. And it's just like, I think the ending of this movie, we're about to get into spoilers. I'll give the audience a warning, but like this movie, if it didn't end a certain way, I don't know if I would see the third movie. I don't even know if I would. I wouldn't be interested. I don't know what character you would bring in here unless they're meeting up with like a Morbius or a Vulture or another character from the Sony universe. If it's another Venom standalone, I don't have a desire to see it after watching this movie. I swear. Only reason that brings me to it is like this post-credit, which we're about to get into.
Yeah, and this question, I'm trying not to, like, you can see the look at my face. I'm like trying not to say a spoiler, but it's not the post-credit scene, it's the end of the movie that I think is under the radar that no one's talking about, that because of the post-credit scene that pissed me off and is a reason why maybe I won't see a third Venom movie without a Spider-Man. And we can get into that now before we get into like a spoiler before post-credit scene, because I know the post-credit scene is huge.
I'm thinking the same thing. So let's jump into spoilers now. Want to give our scores first. Let's give our scores for the non-spoilers. Do you want me to go first? Do you want to go first?
You go first. I'll go after.
So I initially was thinking like a 46 after watching last night. I'm going to bump it up a little bit to a 48. I'm going to go 48 out of 100 for Venom 2. Obviously, I don't have a ton of great things to say other than like the fight sequences were sick. Like they were cool. That's all I wanted to see was Venom and Carnage on screen, duking it out. Yes, we got them going in for the final battle. I didn't like the romantic comedy aspect to the Venom character. I wish these movies had a little bit of a darker edge to them with such dark characters. And I really did. I think I enjoyed the first one more than this sequel, although not a ton more, or like one where I'm like, okay, just like thinking that the first one's incredible, but I think it was better. So I'm going to stick with a 48 out of 100. I still love Tom Hardy. I just wish he was attached to a better franchise for comic books.
Yeah, like I think this movie's just not developed. It's rushed through a lot of like the plot lines here. And it was really like a rom-com between Venom and Hardy most of the time, splashed in with the CGI fight fest and visual effects. And there was really only one purpose of this movie, and it was to get to the final fight scene. And it really seemed to rush just to get there. But to say something good about this movie, it was a sequel with entertaining action sequences, right? A more personal approach with that rom-com aspect, with a lot of humor, hit or miss, but a lot of humor. And then the final showdown, I thought was a success. I'm going to go 51 out of 100. I know we said a lot of bad things, but there are good aspects of this movie as well, specifically with the action sequences and the final showdown.
Yeah, I just couldn't go over. I like over a 5 out of 10. Like I just can't say I was having a great time watching it because I mean I expected so much more with these characters, and I love them so much, and I feel like they're letting me down a bit with the way they adapted Carnage. All right, so let's go to spoilers. Let's talk about the scene. So let's talk about the end of the movie, then we'll jump into post-credit scene.
Okay.
I believe you're referring to like the hints at a third Venom movie with Stephen Graham. Is that what you're talking about? With
That's what I am referring to.
The cop that is adopted a symbiote, looks like he's going to be a core part of the third movie or just in the Sony universe. So what is your beef with that aspect, Flicks?
Okay, so obviously at the end, like Mulligan, like you see him, like he's alive and he has blue eyes. So like this means like he's probably going to be Toxin, right? That symbiote.
That's the one they've talked about.
Okay, so
like, everyone's a symbiote,
right? So like it's unclear like what happens, which I don't really like, but again that makes sense. Whatever, like just because this movie doesn't make sense sometimes. But I think that like bottom line here is that he's going to be the Venom 3 guy, like he is, and for me that's a problem. I think that's a problem.
All these characters are the same.
Like yes, are the same. I think yes. But you kill Carnage to get to a like Woody Harrelson, to get to Stephen Graham. Stephen Graham. Every time I'm watching, like when I saw him in the screen, I forgot he was playing like in this movie and like a big part of it. I don't take him seriously. He reminds me of Ike Barinholtz in Suicide Squad. I just can't take him seriously. Every time I see him, I think of that, or I think of Snatch and just being like Jason Statham.
I liked him in The Irishman.
Okay, true. He was good in The Irishman. But I just can't take him seriously. I can't. I just think Ike Barinholtz in Suicide Squad. If you don't know who that is, he's just the security guard that helps Jared Leto. Just terrible character. Even though I like Ike Barinholtz, my guy, Neighbors. But terrible in that. Blockers. But Stephen Graham's going to be going against Tom Hardy. Like, come on. Like Woody Harrelson, Tom Hardy, same level. Tom Hardy, Stephen Graham. What are we doing? We're downgrading here.
I don't know if he'll be the main guy because I think now that we're talking about
though.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never even heard of this guy.
He's just like a Carnage offspring, basically.
Like Spider-Man.
Like, so like Carnage is
others. Like I just like don't like how Spider-Man doesn't just fight Spider-Men. Like he doesn't fight. Like there's different types of villains. They face. If this guy is the lead character in the third Venom movie, he's faced 3 symbiotes. Give me somebody else.
That's what I think it is, though. I think it is. Like Toxin's like a big character. Like obviously you have Venom. Offspring's Carnage, and then we get to Toxin. So I think that's what it is, and Stephen Graham's going to be it.
I don't know, like that doesn't appeal to me whatsoever.
I know,
whatsoever.
Terrible. I think it's bad.
Speaking of things that are appealing, the part that really drove us to the theater to see this movie, other than the fact that we review it for a podcast, is Tom Holland making a appearance. We kind of predicted this, where it's J. Jonah Jameson popping on the TV with the Daily Bugle segment, revealing that Peter Parker is Spider-Man from Mysterio in Far From Home. And then we also have we had right before that, the multiverse, like kind of, I have a feeling it's the Doctor Strange where he shakes everything up, right? With the spell that goes wrong. And all of a sudden Venom is licking the screen, licking his chops to get to Spider-Man. So Ricky Flex, I know we were kind of expecting this, right, from this movie. So when's the point we can assume that Venom sees Spider-Man in person for the first time? What movie? What project?
So I know people are saying No Way Home. Obviously you saw Tom Hardy with the production hat on with No Way Home. So you might get him in that. You might. There's so many characters and villains in that. I really don't think that's going to be the case. And I said it earlier in the review, like Venom's such a great counterpart to Spider-Man. I feel like that would be a great one-on-one movie. Like Venom gets his own movie as the Spider-Man villain. And you could keep it within Sony. And Sony would preferably rather do that than bring him into MCU this quickly, especially as a cameo type role in Far From No Way Home. So that's what I think will be the case. Kind of going in the Sonyverse with a Craven, Morbius, and whatnot. But that's just my opinion. I don't think No Way Home. What about you?
So it's tough. Maybe they don't put him in. Like you talk about a separation from the MCU and Sony, but at the same time, I was talking to you afterwards. Like with this situation, they're gonna have to explain how Venom is coming in contact with Spider-Man now with these two like multiverses coming together. Like it's saying Venom has to be a part of the MCU now because how did the multiverse? How was it impacted? Doctor Strange did it with this spell. So like they're gonna meet up, and like how is this possible? Well, Doctor Strange did it. So doesn't that make Venom a part of the MCU?
So okay, so my interpretation of the post-credit scene was that Venom said that he didn't do it because obviously like what he was talking about, saying like, oh Eddie, I could show you like certain parts of like what I've been through in like the thousands of years I've been like whatever universes I've seen. So it wasn't Venom. He says that wasn't him. So it was either Doctor Strange or could it have been like from Loki in that initial
Kang the Conqueror.
Yeah, could it have been from that? So I don't think it's a definite because I think what we saw was like obviously like what we saw was after Far From Home, like we saw that the J. Jonah Jameson thing, right? But it doesn't necessarily mean Doctor Strange, No Way Home implications are in it. I don't think that's a guarantee. So I still think there's some leeway there where it's not necessarily that.
Either way, they're acknowledging events that have happened in the MCU.
Yes. Either way, I think Venom will be a part of the MCU. Just will it be the first time in No Way Home? I don't know about that.
But is Toxin and so is Spider-Man going to go against Venom in Venom? I guess it'll just be a Spider-Man sequel. It won't even be like Venom 3. So you're saying like Toxin is just going to be saved for like a Venom solo movie and not when Venom is going to be matched up with Spider-Man, because it gets a little confusing here because the perspective of Venom is about to change drastically. He's a very likable character right now. When he goes against Spider-Man, man, like you're changing his narrative a little bit with audiences. Is he now going to be viewed as a evil villain, or is he going to be viewed as someone of like you understand his motives, you empathize with him, you're like, okay, you like this character so much. I can't wait to see how this is going to come to a head, because I don't think we've seen this before with like a major movie superhero villain where it's like you build them up to really enjoy them in terms of a comic book villain, and then they go against a superhero. Like name another project where that's happened. Like Loki, he wasn't likable before Thor. Yes, he becomes someone that you root for afterwards, but like this is the first time they're meeting. Do you understand what I'm saying there?
I think so. I think so. I think just going back to the big issue here, or the big question is, yes, I do think this acknowledges Venom being a part of the MCU. Right. I do think that it's being a part of an MCU character. And obviously you could make the argument that Spider-Man could also just be in the Sony universe, just do both. I do think it acknowledges that because these events were in Far From Home. I just don't know. Like, I'm just not sure. I really don't. I thought we were going to get something more concrete, but this just leaves the door open. I guess it's the whole point of a post-credit scene is to talk about it and get your theories out and make everyone really excited for the next movie, next project going forward.
Yeah, I just don't know how they're going to explain it. And I have a hard time picturing small little Tom Hardy in going against Venom. I have a hard time picturing that. And I can only imagine the banter in those fight scenes, how much talking they're going to be doing between Tom Holland, who loves to talk, and then you have Venom, who loves to talk, going against one another. So it could be entertaining, or it could be make my head want to explode. It could be one or the other.
But again, like because Spider-Man, right, and is a bigger character than Venom, even though it made $800 billion. Like Spider-Man, Tom Holland is much bigger. Like I think it would actually play to like our hands as audience members that don't necessarily love everything that comes out of Venom's mouth. At least for me, I'll speak for myself there. I do think he's fun. I'm just saying, like it could play a hand where more talking will go towards the Spider-Man side, and maybe we only get the good things coming out of Venom during these fight sequences in a Venom versus Spider-Man movie.
Yeah. I mean, Tom Hardy could play off anybody, so I'm not concerned about it. I'm just more concerned about like who's directing this film. Is it going to be like an MCU related project? How much will Kevin Feige have his hands on this project? Because he's a trustworthy creator, project showrunner, like right movie runner, like producer. Like he knows what he's doing with these like characters. I mean, he predates the MCU with like working on the X-Men movies as a producer. Like he understands beyond just the characters that are in his hands, right? So I think I would trust him like producing this movie. And I know Sony does consult him with a lot of their projects. So hopefully they choose to do the same when this eventual meeting occurs.
So at the end of the day, Dr. O, are you saying Venom will be or will not be in No Way Home? Yes or no?
Post-credit scene, No Way Home. Post-credit scene, No Way Home. Just because it's technically, so this is where it gets confusing, because it is a Sony movie. And if they do a Venom post-credit, that's acknowledging him, I think, in both the MCU and Sony. That's both, right? So Tom Holland is acknowledged in a Sony movie, right? Such as Venom 2. It's still just Sony. But once you start to have a movie that's a collaboration with Marvel Studios, right, with Kevin Feige, and you include Venom, he's in the universe.
Okay.
Right. So is it likely? I don't know. I think it'd be more likely he doesn't even show up. But if I think he shows up in a post credit based on what I just watched in Venom.
Okay.
You know?
So I guess just one last thing I'll say. Maybe just you can help me clarify this, or if our audience members might be thinking the same thing. So in this post credit scene, right, they're in one room, like a cheap hotel room near the beach, right? And then, like, obviously what happens is they change into a nicer hotel room. Clearly not their hotel room, and they're watching the TV. So, Dr. O, just for to clear things up here, they were in the Sonyverse, or just a different Venom universe, just a different universe. And then it was either the Doctor Strange or King the Conqueror event.
Now
and they jump to the MCU, and like now they're in the MCU, the Marvel universe. So now they are in the Marvel universe.
That's what I think. But like, it has to be, because
it makes sense with the guy coming in.
They have to acknowledge how it happened. Like they can't just say, "Oh, they're in a different universe now." They have to acknowledge where they are and how they got there. And how they got there has got to be either two non-Sony characters, whether it be Kang or Doctor Strange. So I think he's in the MCU.
Yeah, and again, this brings up confusion again, because we have a Morbius getting his own Sony movie, which Vulture, Michael Keaton, will be in, who's clearly a Marvel character. So it's like that is already in the Marvel universe then. That movie, technically, if you have a Marvel character in it, universe character.
No.
Why not?
Because he debuted in a Sony movie. He didn't debut in any other Marvel project. You know what I mean? So he was in. No. Michael Keaton only appeared in Homecoming. He never appeared in another MCU project. Homecoming was a combination as an MCU film, but also a Sony film. So he can appear in the Sony universe because he's in a Sony movie. It's a Spider-Man movie.
I just don't get, like, Homecoming, Iron Man's in it. Like, there's a lot of MCU implications. So you're saying that to look for Morbius, obviously you have to look back to Homecoming because Vulture's in this, and you have to look back to Homecoming, Vulture's character. So you're saying when I'm watching Morbius, I have to think of Homecoming as a Sony movie and forget the Marvel implications. That's what you're telling me. Just to be clear. Yeah. And for the audience members that are with me here.
No. So you don't forget what Michael Keaton did. No,
right. But forget about all the Marvel implications. Forget about he was trying to steal Captain America's shield. He was trying to steal Iron Man's suit, like as in Vulture. He was trying to steal Marvel universe this projects.
Is where it gets, they will never bring it up unless they're in the MCU
it makes
now.
No sense.
Unless they're officially in the MCU now.
Okay.
Because of the shake.
But you see what my issue is, because Vulture is connected to the Marvel Universe because he's on Tony Stark's or the Avengers plane.
He has beef with Tony Stark.
Yeah. And like his initial job, his construction job before he gets laid off or whatever, is to work on the Avengers New York 2012 events. So it just is killing me, Dr. Rowe.
But that's a collaboration, though. It's a collaboration between the two. So they can mention everything.
But it's acknowledging Loki exists.
Like Michael Vulture, I doubt when he goes to Morbius, would be like, yes, I hate that guy, Tony Stark, or I have this beef with Tony Stark, or he won't bring up Captain America. He won't bring up anything else just because he can't, unless the events of what happened in Venom is the indication that he's now part of the MCU.
Well, Morbius was supposed to come before Venom. This movie.
Yes,
if we remember. So
beginning of next year,
unless there's edits done or whatever, production edits or
new. Are you pumped for Morbius?
well, I'm more pumped.
I'm kind of pumped because it's a darker edge. You got Jared Leto on the redemption tour in terms of comic
House
book
of Gucci
films.
coming up.
House of
Get some
Gucci.
momentum for him.
I mean, I didn't mind him in the little things. I thought he was actually good in the little things. So I'm excited to see where he's going to go from here. Like the redemption story, though. The redemption story is what I'm looking for.
It's going to be an event. Like, I'm definitely going to see it because it's similar to Venom here. Like Tom Hardy, I do love Jared Leto, even though it's hit or miss with him. Like, I do love Jared Leto, and I think the character Morbius from at least the Spider-Man animated series, very interesting, very compelling, badass, like you said. Like, I think this has potential, and I forget his name, but like the guy from the HBO series Chernobyl, he won the award.
Jared Harris.
Thank you. He's in it. Obviously, Michael Keaton's in it as Vulture. So the MCU implications, like, will there be any now? I don't, after this post-credit scene, I don't know. Just have to wait and see, I guess.
We'll have to wait and see. And
sorry, I had to like clear that up because like I'm still confused, and now I'm like,
I wouldn't be surprised if so many people would just like skip ahead to our next review or just skip to the end of the podcast because that was so hard to like kind of decipher there. But that just shows that we are with you. We are with you how hard this is to decipher. But let's just pray that Tom Hardy meets with Tom Holland in a world that is connected to the MCU.
Fingers crossed.
All right, boys, the time has come. I got my Italian colors on. I had them on last week. The Many Saints of Newark. My goodness gracious. Prequel to The Sopranos. I'm going to give you the Rotten Tomatoes. I'm going to give you the IMDb. I'm going to give you the audience score. And then we are about to dive deep into this highly anticipated film. So Rotten Tomatoes has this currently at a 75% with a 59% audience score. It currently has a 6.6 out of 10 with 16,000 ratings. So we know this story. It's focused on Dickie Moltisanti, right? During the race riots in New Jersey, the Newark race riots of 1967, the rise of the DeMeo crime family, right? I think where we should start, boys, I think we kind of hyped this up last episode with our expectations, what we were looking forward to most, what characters we wanted to see. Did you guys think it lived up to the hype? Nez, kick us off.
I think yes and no. I enjoyed the movie. I thought it was entertaining. It was really, there was a lot of fan service, but I think we were expecting that. And I think like looking at it as just a movie, it's just like, it's okay. I'd say it's just an okay movie, but as a Sopranos fan, it's like pretty, entertaining and nice to see. I think the movie overall is like, it's like, it was okay. Like I said, there wasn't that. It was just like a long episode of The Sopranos, and it was like a prequel episode. So I enjoyed it, but I'm just saying like the movie itself was like a little shaky at times. I will say though that the ending really got me like that. I really love that, and we'll talk about that a little bit later.
Yeah, when we get to spoilers for sure. Ricky Flex, it'll live up to the hype.
No, it did not. It did not. It definitely had fan service, like Nez said, that I thought I was going to like. And there's some I did, but then some I just thought was over the top. And it's like some direct lines from the show, like literally one for one, where you think that like you might get I did get a chuckle or two, but then at the end it's like, oh, like they didn't have to do that. There's a couple, like a few, more than a couple things. There's just like they clearly did it for the fans, but it was like you didn't have to do that. And just to come in from someone that's watched Sopranos 3 times now and going on 4, it's just like you didn't have to do that. I think there's a lot of that in this movie, and just all in all, I agree with Nez. Just as a movie in itself, I don't think it was great. It wasn't bad. Just I don't think it was that great.
Interesting. So I must say, I watched it for the second time last night after the Pats Bucks game, and I did like it more the second time I watched it. I think as a movie, it was solid. I don't think it was bad. I think it was solid. It was good, not great. For a Sopranos fan, I think it was also good, not great. So I think the main flaw of this movie is that you have Sopranos fans that were looking forward to this for so long, right? They wanted to see the return of these characters. There's a deep devotion for it, but you get limited screen time with a lot of these characters that you adore. And then also, if you've never seen The Sopranos, you don't get a lot of the references that are mentioned in this movie. So you're like, if you're like right in between. And that's why I think I agree with you guys. It's a solid movie, but if you're not in that crowd, if you don't know Paulie Walnuts, you can't enjoy the moments with him as much. And like especially with guys like Paulie Walnuts and Silvio Dante, at times you feel like you're watching an SNL skit by the way they
They're
look, by the
impersonators.
way they
Yeah.
talk.
Yeah.
And if you know them, you're like, yes, what a great impersonation, because you know Steven Van Sant is going to go way over the top, right? So you have to play that character way over the top. But if you're just looking for great acting, you're like, what the hell am I watching right now? Is this a joke? You know? So I think we're go ahead, sorry.
No, I agree with you. I feel like that when you're watching The Sopranos and you're watching Silvio do his bits, like he knows it's funny, but like he's like being the character. In this one, like every time it's Silvio doing it, like the impersonator, you feel like he's just doing it to try to be like Silvio. It's not a part of his character. He's trying to make the audience laugh. And that's where I think like the skit aspect, the SNL that you mentioned, that's where it comes apart. Or like with Paulie when he's like saying, "That's my coat. I didn't actually, or I just got this new coat," or whatever. And then the hand mannerisms, I thought was just so forced, unlike regular mannerisms that you saw like with a Michael Gandolfini playing a young Tony. I thought those were a lot more natural. So I guess that's where like, I guess some similar to what I was saying before, where like the fan service balance with actual good movie and good acting, it just didn't balance out what I would like to see.
I'm just really glad I made that pledge to watch The Sopranos before this movie came out, because if I did not watch The Sopranos, I would have had a horrible time watching that today, because I was just like, I don't know what this, like, I just didn't know I wouldn't have known what was going on. But because I watched The Sopranos, obviously I picked up on everything. How do you guys think Michael Gandolfini did?
Yeah, so that was going to be my next question. I think he was one of the better performances of the movie. I think David Chase and Alan Taylor, the director, did a great job of not overexposing him, because it was so smart. I know, Nez, you brought it up last episode. Dickie Moltisanti to be this character Sopranos fans like only heard of, is like a mythological figure from the show. Tony, we know everything about, and we can almost like kind of guess how he's going to act, or just we assume we know how he's going to act. Like Dickie Moltisanti brought something like on some unpredictability, but Tony Soprano, less screen time. I think he wasn't trying to impersonate his father, especially because the age gap is so extreme between an older Tony Soprano, a mob boss, and then a teenage Tony Soprano. And it was cool to kind of watch that development, him go to that darker side, his influence that Dickie had on him. I thought he was spectacular. Sorry, that's a little too much. I thought he was really, really good. And I think that I would like to see him in another project for sure.
Yeah, I think at times him trying to kind of sound like Tony, he didn't try too hard to sound just like him. So I thought that was good. And I think he did a really good job. I also really like how they had Christopher as the narrator. That I thought that was very cool that they had that.
See,
Interesting.
That's another thing I didn't like. I thought it was cool. So I agree with you on that, but I didn't like it. I thought it was odd. They used them 3 times, once in the beginning, which, okay, if you're going to use narration, okay, it's a little lazy way of writing, but sure, I trust you. David Chase never used in the show either. Narration never used in the show. They used in the middle of the movie for a side comment. Like, that's the guy that whacked me, like Tony Soprano at a funeral. And then they used it at the end. So I just thought it was very odd, just the way that they utilized narration, as it wasn't consistent. And then they just threw it in the middle for no reason whatsoever. So it was nice to hear his voice. And it was just like, if you watch The Sopranos, it's like, that makes sense. But other than that, as a movie, it didn't really make much sense.
100% fan service, though. It was 100% fan service, where it's like you don't anticipate anyone from the actual series to really make an appearance. You hear Michael Imperioli's voice, and it's such an iconic voice too. Christopher speaks in a very distinct way. And I guess the voiceover narration is another way to kind of separate it from the show, because David Chase was a proponent, and he kept saying, I listened to an interview with him earlier in the week. He wanted this movie to just strictly be in theaters. And it's kind of sad that this movie ended up, you guys know how much it made at the box office this past weekend?
5 million.
5 million. A Sopranos prequel only made 5 million at the box office.
Well,
it was relegated to HBO Max. And I kind of hate that HBO Max like stripped that from David Chase. Like, the one time he's gonna make a movie about the Sopranos, this happens. You know what I mean?
It's just that it's tough also with that, where we're in this pandemic environment, obviously makes it more difficult. But like, so many people have seen The Sopranos, but it was a TV show, so they all saw it on the TV. So they're just saying, oh, might as well watch the Sopranos movie on a TV because I can. It just made too much sense to do that. I know I did that. I love movie theaters, but I did that.
So did I. Shame.
Shame.
Big time. Let's go into some other performances here. I know let's talk about Dickie Moltisanti because we brought him up earlier. How did you think Alessandro Niffolo did as the lead character here, Nez?
I thought he was good. He doesn't give me like menacing boss vibes. I don't know. It didn't remind me of Tony, and I was thinking that the same thing about Michael during the movie, but then I saw that last shot of him and I think it kind of made up for it. It's like, okay, so this person was created. He wasn't always like that, which I think is interesting. But yeah, I don't know. He didn't really, I guess, scare me the way Tony did. He didn't really like look like he was completely in control of everybody like the way Tony did, but apparently he did good. It was just a little interesting, but I don't think he did a terrible job, but he just didn't like. It's hard when you're comparing somebody to James Gandolfini, right? So like that's at least what I did, and he's like, James Gandolfini is one of the best actors, like was one of the best actors. Like he did amazing. He would steal the scene. He would capture, the intensity of it. And so I guess when comparing to him, he obviously loses, and it's not really fair to him. But I think he did all right. It just didn't. I don't think he was, that powerful, much of a presence on the screen.
Interesting. Flex, do you agree?
I think he was just in a different way. I think that Tony Soprano, like physical presence, like he's going to intimidate you and scare you just based on his physical presence alone, and then his anger. I think Dickie Moltisanti was just respected. He was a respected leader. Everyone looked up to him. Everyone went to him for advice. Even at I'm not going to spoil anything. Not going to say it.
You were close.
But like they went, a lot of the like the captains went to him. Like they all went to him, and they respected his decisions throughout the movie. And a lot of people, and I'm trying not to do anything about spoilers, but at the end of the day, like he wasn't the madman that the heated Tony Soprano with the physical presence, but he was just a well-respected leader. And I think that is a different type of presence, but it was still like a major presence, not on the audience like a James Gandolfini, which I agree with you with, Nez, but just on his the other characters.
I thought personally he was pretty good. Like I think he was decent because he is that respected guy to so many people. People look up to him. He's a role model to Tony, right? And he sticks up for his stepmom at the time, but he has an underlying darkness to him that really surfaced at the end of the movie, and it really built up. And he has that like classic Moltisanti like temper, that kind of like also it also like shined through at the end. And it's like he had that sense of unpredictability. Yes, he seems like the nicest guy in the world right now. He's a family man. He loves Tony, his nephew, but he's not afraid to whack somebody. He's not afraid to whack somebody. Yes, unreal. And Nez, you compared him to Tony here. I think that's a great comparison, even though they're not the exact same level in terms of like where they're standing within the mob, because a lot of like you have almost parallels where Tony talks to Dr. Melfi. You have Dickie Moltisanti talking to Ray Liotta's character. Okay. And almost using him as like someone to lean on, someone to profess to. And I thought like that was like a callback to the show. And I thought those are some of the most powerful scenes of the movie. And I think Ray Liotta did a pretty good job here too. We're going to get into some spoilers later, because I think there's something very obvious we have to talk about with Ray Liotta that took me by surprise, and probably did you guys as well. But any other supporting characters you guys think stood out alongside Niffolo and Michael Gandolfini?
I liked Vera Farmiga. I thought she was very good. I thought like it was clear that she was a good Olivia. Like obviously it's hard to live up to the prior Olivia, but for a young Olivia Soprano, I thought she nailed it. I honestly thought that was the only thing I didn't like, because that was just thrown in at the end after she was leaving the room. Exactly. That was the only like line I didn't like. But I'll save the rest of what I had to say for her in spoilers, because there's something at the end that she said that was just so perfectly Olivia Soprano and really just captured the whole performance right there.
I liked the Italian woman. I thought she was an interesting like component to the story.
The Gumar.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like that was an interesting facet to the story. That also goes and it goes into her narrative. Also, she had an interesting like arc to kind of look through, and like just her character development from like when she comes off the boat with Ray Liotta and then eventually where she ends up in this story. It's kind of messed up. It is messed up. Like this story is like extremely, and it ends with like obviously disaster. That's all I'll say. I guess that's kind of a spoiler, but I'll try. Crap,
for who?
Okay.
Disaster
yeah,
for who?
And yes, exactly. That's how I'll phrase it. But it was interesting to see like the narrative that I think one of the flaws of this movie, it tried to put so many narratives into one movie, only 120 minutes. And her character, like she wanted her own business. Okay. And she wanted Dickie to back the business and let her have autonomy over it. And then you had all these other stories too. You had the race riots, that you have Michael being Dickie being the mentor to Michael. There's just so much going on. And I think we didn't get to explore her enough, to be honest. And that's why I think this like movie would have been just amazing as a miniseries. It just should have been a miniseries. Yeah. I think there was so much to explore, so many characters we didn't get enough screen time with. Like, I think it would have been rewarding to have that. And David Chase is so good at those type of series, long narratives. So what do you guys think? Are you guys in favor of like a miniseries over the movie, or thoughts there?
Easily. Just I know David Chase in interviews said he didn't want to do any more series. So I don't think it's possible, but definitely something that I would have liked. And I agree with you. There's so many different narratives here. And like, there's some that I liked, some that I didn't, or they could have been improved upon. But at the end of the day, like with a series, you could venture off and do separate episodes based on those different narratives. Here you have 2 hours to try to cram them all in to connect it to one plot. And it was just difficult. And I thought that was clear.
Interesting. I also want to commend another part of the movie. Like the second time I watched it, I just had more of appreciation of it. I feel like the first time I was watching it, I was just like, okay, when is Uncle Junior gonna say he didn't have the makings of a varsity athlete? When is like Silvio gonna like do the face? When is he gonna do the mannerism? When Paulie Walnut's gonna do the mannerisms? Second time I watched it, I'm like, let's just focus on whether this is a good movie. And straight up, cinematography in this movie was spectacular. It's really good. It looked awesome on screen. I would say it looked better than The Sopranos looks on TV. Obviously, it's the cinema, it's different, but it looks so much better. It captures the time period so well in the late 60s, early 70s. And then moving on from that, David Chase, does he do so well, including the TV show? Music, score. So good in this movie, in my opinion. The Van Morrison scene where they're in the car, it's Dickie and his Kumar, the romantic afternoon they have together, the song playing. It was strong Sopranos vibes, and also just great movie vibes. It was a perfect song. I even Shazammed the song because it was in my head, and I'm just, whenever I hear that, I'm gonna think of that scene, which is kind of a good and bad thing. Now
that was my favorite song of the movie.
It hit really well, and like there's a rare time in this movie where someone's talking, there's not music in the background, and I love that. Right. And there's always distinct music choices made by David Chase. So, and what other aspects? Yeah.
You knew that was coming.
Oh, yeah.
No, I was going to say, you knew that was coming, though, with the way that they did it in The Sopranos. The music was always perfectly selected.
Yeah. Big time.
That's a job that I want. I want to be the person that picks music for movie scenes because I have some ideas. Music
supervisor. I think that's the title. Literally.
Yeah.
Advisor.
I want to be the music supervisor. I already have one. You want to hear one of my ideas?
Yes.
A fight scene choreographed to the Trans-Siberian Orchestra Christmas song. That's like really intense.
Yes.
That would be epic.
Like John Wick 4 during Christmas.
Yeah.
That'd be crazy. That'd be awesome. Great to see live, by the way. If you haven't seen Trans-Siberian Orchestra, I'll put that out there too.
All
right. Any other aspects you guys enjoyed? Anything you want to touch upon? I think what stuck out in my mind is Ricky Flicks brought it up is the callbacks to the series. I thought they didn't flow as well in this movie. I like some subtlety to those types of things. Did you guys think it was too overt? Do you think it was just what the David Chase needed to do? Or what do you think about like the balance of those callbacks?
I think it was just really overt. And I think the prime example is with Pussy. Pussy, that scene was just cringy. Like it was just so forced. Like because the priest sitting at the table and they like went on for 30 seconds about his name and how he like saying, "Oh, don't worry about it," and then they just like have a long awkward silence. It was just like you didn't have to do that.
I think the actor slayed it though. The guy who played Pussy was good. Like I think he had the swag to it. He didn't have many lines, but I think he just like I imagine him as Pussy. Like
is that the guy? Is that the guy that's on Joe Rogan's podcast all the time?
I don't know. I know it's an inexperienced actor, a young dude.
But all right, if we go to that, I think that was one of the ones where I was like, that's less of an impersonation, more just acting.
Yes. That's why I think it was good.
Which is shocking from someone that less experienced. Like we had the Gandolfini character, Michael Gandolfini playing his father. Not great, not a lot of experience, but I thought he did well. But with someone like Billy Magnuson and the guy who played Silvio with
John O'Gara,
who was in Cow and a lot of big time movies, The Big Short, and I just thought they were impersonations. So I think that says something.
Right.
Yeah, he looked nothing. It was Joey Diaz. Yeah, it was him. Oh wait, no, it wasn't.
Joey Diaz is the guy. I don't think Joey Diaz was in any mention of the show. I think he was a new character, right? I think that was right. But I think I also let's just bring up Silvio and Paulie Walnuts because those are the two of the three characters we drafted in our Sopranos draft, and I think we were hoping for a lot more screen time than that was given to them. Were you guys disappointed by that? Were you expecting that? Honestly, do you think Billy Magnuson lived up to Paulie Walnuts and Tony Siriaco?
I think with the overt actions and callbacks there to the show with those characters they were trying to like minimize, like with the minimized screen time, they used that minimized screen time to make sure you remembered them. So with those callbacks, and I'd rather just have them be in it more with just more natural, like you said, flow of the movie.
Yeah. I don't know. I was a fan of them. I honestly thought it was really like the guy that played Silvio looked nothing like him, but I thought it was hilarious. Like his like impersonation of him was
the toupee
was really good. I didn't even realize it was a toupee the whole time.
Well, no, he was toupee at the end. Like I
know, but like in the series, that was supposed to be a toupee.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I just thought he had really nice hair.
That'd be unbelievable hair if it was naturally like that.
Silly me.
And I don't mean to rag on Silvio in this movie. I thought the last scene with him, I thought that was good acting. So I will say that the ones that wasn't impersonation, like that was good.
I feel like we're holding back a little bit, so we're gonna jump into spoilers in a sec. But I think we should go to our scores just so the non-spoilers can hear it too. So Ricky Flex, what did you give The Many Saints of Newark?
Solid movie, 66.
Nez,
77.
Wow. I gave 70 from Dr. O. So those are our scores. You said 77 from Nez, 66 from Ricky Flex, 70 from Dr. O. Let's now move on to spoilers and get to the juicy parts of The Many Saints of Newark. All right, spoiler territory, right? You've been warned. If you haven't seen The Many Saints of Newark, I don't know what you were doing all weekend or even tonight, Monday night. So I think the first thing we need to bring up is the beginning of the movie. You know Ray Liotta is going to be in this movie. You know from the trailers. He's introduced. He is Dickie's father. He brings home this Italian wife. And then within the first 15 minutes of the movie, Ray Liotta gets his head smashed by his son. And at that moment, I was like, what the hell is going on? Are they tricking us in this trailer? Right? You even had the Black Crow, if you guys noticed that.
Yeah.
You had the Black Crow, the Multisanti Crow there, right? So did you guys see Ray Liotta having a second role in this movie as his own brother?
Well, what I thought was one role. I think that was obvious.
Yeah.
But I thought he was just going to go to prison for something based on the trailer. Like, obviously, he's in a prison saying he murdered somebody. Right. So I was expecting when he gets off the boat, he's going to murder somebody. You get like call back to a prior case and go to jail and then whatever. Nope, he has a twin brother. Like, makes sense.
I low-key laughed when I saw him walk out after
I was
he
like a
just
little
died.
confused. Yeah.
I just started laughing. I'm like, no way they're doing this. No way they're doing this. I feel like they could have like had another like famous like Goodfellas level maybe like actor do that, like a favorite famous mob like star, because that's what they were doing with Liotta. Callback to Goodfellas, huge inspiration for The Sopranos, and I think that would have been awesome. But Liotta kind of slayed it there, in my opinion. I think he was a great like a la Dr. Melfi.
It was interesting because the first 15 minutes it was like Henry Hill, like exuberant Henry Hill, but then the other half is just
A laugh.
with the laugh and everything and the yelling and abuse, woman abuse, like clearly. But
oh my god,
yeah, push her down the stairs, like come on now. But then the second half was just a monotone Ray Liotta that I thought did very well.
Agreed. 100%. And I think we also have to talk about the decision making of Dickie Moltisanti as Gumar ends up becoming his former stepmom. What the hell are we doing here? That was crazy. And that just shows, and it shows like the extreme family dynamics, I guess, of The Sopranos. But that is just that's on another level. That's on another level. I was when she kissed him for the first time, I was like, oh boy, this is going to become a thing. Yeah. And I thought he was just going to start cheating. I thought she was going to start cheating on Ray Liotta, but he died. So like, oh my God, that kind of clears the path there. It's a messed up storyline, messed up storyline.
Yeah.
With a messed up show.
And then we also, if we're going to talk about that whole storyline, we have to talk about the death of his Gumar, right? Yeah. After the Van Morrison.
I was going to say, which one?
Yeah. So after, yes.
More like a suicide.
Man. Yeah. So sort of. Yeah. So after this romantic evening, right? And we also didn't talk enough about the Leslie Odom Jr. aspect of this movie. I guess we'll talk about that in a bit. But after this romantic afternoon and evening, walking on the beach, Gumar admits to Dickie Moltisanti that she had sex with Harold, who is the rival, like the former compadre, enemy. Right? He's the enemy, former friend of Dickie Moltisanti, and then he snaps, absolutely snaps. And I thought he was truly menacing in that scene. And I mean, this is like, it almost felt like this is what Christopher came so close to doing to Adriana, but his dad actually pulled the trigger. I was getting flashbacks to Adriana in my head. How about you boys?
Definitely crossed my mind.
I actually didn't even put that together, but yeah, that makes sense.
Really? I was thinking of, dude, when Adriana admits it, like it's once again a reveal by a loved one to a Moltisanti saying, hey, I have been talking with the FBI, and he nearly kills her. And I kept thinking in my head, he's going to strangle her to death, just like Christopher wanted to do to Adriana. Right. That's kind of the parallels I was thinking of the entire time. But yeah, so this guy was a complete psycho, a complete psychopath. And it was just interesting to see his dynamic with Tony, looking to be a mentor to Tony, and at the same time, killing these people on the side. Absolutely wild card.
And that's where the Ray Liotta character comes in to make him realize you're a psychopath. You should not be a mentor to anybody. And that's.
And do you think Ray Liotta's character knew the entire time he killed both people?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why else would he like say, "Oh, my brother never touched a tool," and you're telling me he was in there burned down, and then mentioning the other thing? So like he clearly alluded to saying, "You murdered those people. You should not be mentoring Tony Soprano."
Right. Yes. And then like when he talks about his Gumar, he goes, what do you say? He said, you have a lot of tragedy surrounding your life. And a lot of times I think he's referring to you bring the tragedy on yourself because of your temper, like, because you are an angry person and you just let loose. I think also we need to talk about the twist at the end of the movie, because that is something I didn't necessarily see coming. I'm not too shocked about it. Do you guys? So spoiler territory, Uncle Junior is the one responsible for the hit on Dickie Moltisanti, and it's not Harold that puts it on him, Leslie Odom Jr.'s character.
Yeah.
Do you guys think that was an okay decision by Chase? Were you comfortable with it? Nez, kick us off.
Yeah, 100%.
Interesting.
I mean, when you think about season 1 Junior and how like Tony's talking about how he's just a giant pain in the butt, and like how he's always messing things up for him, and like doing like stupid stuff, or like being selfish. Like it fits the character. He's that's something totally something Junior would do, calling it, because he's insulted by some guy because he laughed at him when he fell. And there's beef before that, so I absolutely I'm okay with that. Him being responsible, and then it just shows how Tony was, how he was trying to protect Christopher, and well, actually I guess he didn't know, but he made up a story basically about how Christopher's dad died, and
to get him
it's gonna be so weird to look back on that when you rewatch it show.
Yeah.
So who's the cop? There's a episode where Tony tells Christopher the name of the cop that killed his dad allegedly. Who is that cop? Is that just somebody they need to get rid of? Like,
I got to rewatch that season.
Yeah. So like it was just an easy cop out because Christopher at the time was like messed up, and Tony needs him to be focused and needs him to do his dues, right? As a made man, he's got to put in that. He's got to start earning again and start earning big time. He's still in flux with drugs, alcohol, abuse and confliction, Adriana's death. He's just in a weird state, and he's like, you got to focus up. And to his dedication, he picks out, like, watching the show, I thought it was definitely that guy did not murder Christopher's dad. I don't know about you guys, but I thought that was for sure not a possibility.
Yeah, I didn't think so either.
But I thought it was a vice for Tony to get Christopher back on track for the group. But
as a motivational technique.
Right, exactly. But regarding this storyline in the movie, I did not see it coming, but it makes total sense, not because of just who I think, Nez, you're absolutely spot on. Junior Soprano definitely would do this from the show if we're talking about the same character, which we are. But just in the movie, it makes total sense. Why would they be referencing Corrado so much throughout the movie? Like him driving John Bernthal, Johnny Boy Soprano, home from prison and getting made fun of him, or saying you're like less of a man and you're older than me, by letting these people move into the street, or slipping at the funeral outside the church and Dickie Moltisanti's laughing at him. There's too many Corrado moments in this movie to him not have a major aspect at the end.
Yeah, so I was thinking this the second time I watched it. So the first time I thought maybe this twist wasn't earned, where it's like maybe they didn't have that strong antagonistic relationship, for this antagonistic feeling Corrado has for Dickie. But after rewatching it, even when they go to dinner, right, they're at the club, and then Dickie says that Corrado's girl is basically cheating on him, having sex with somebody else. He obviously takes it personally. Dickie's making fun of him, slipping on, as you said, slipping on the pavement, which is such a minor thing, but they add other details, right, around that moment. And Corrado's gonna like have that type of like extreme anger towards somebody for such a minor thing that no one else would like hold that to. And that's true to the character. So I hated it the first time, not hated it, but like I just didn't like seeing it. The second time I'm like, this makes sense. Like this really does. The only thing I didn't like, it didn't provide a lot of closure for Harold's character in the movie. I think that was
Oh, what do you mean? Did you guys miss the whole point?
What, Harold?
Yeah.
Well, he's running it now. They pushed him to the suburbs. Like what do you mean?
No, he's dead.
No, I don't. Harold.
Did you watch the ending of the
Leslie Odom Jr.?
Harold's dead.
The Leslie Odom Jr. character?
Yeah.
No, he's not.
Where? Where was that in the movie? Where did I miss that?
I'm confused.
He wasn't. That character is that character was not in the Sopranos show.
Wait, I'm confused.
Oh, did you, Tony's first kill? Tony's first kill.
Oh my God.
At the end of the movie, you never see it coming. It cuts to black. That's the movie. They're playing the Sopranos theme song. Tony's dead, and then Harold's dead. Harold killed Tony.
What?
Wait.
No, Harold's a made-up character for this movie. He's not in the Sopranos TV show.
Coming the way. All right, I'm comparing the ending of the movie to the ending of the Sopranos.
So you're
saying wait. But I thought the whole point of it is that the Italians got pushed to the suburbs, and then like he's now living in the city. I didn't make the connection that anyone died at the end.
Yeah.
it's the last frame of the thing, and it's like a little weird. And then remember the episode where they have to dig up the body from Tony's first kill?
I'm
but
rewatching.
Harold's a made up character for this movie.
No, but I think he's saying.
I think Tony killed him.
But
that makes sense if Tony killed him.
It cuts to black just like at the end of the last season of Sopranos. Otherwise, why? Like, you're right. Harold's a made up character for their movie. Why do they need to give him any resolution?
Because he had such a heavy
but
focus
what are you talking about? Tony's first kill then and digging up the body. That wasn't in the movie, right? No.
But that was in the show.
So then that can't be Harold's body because he's not in the show. That's what I'm saying.
Well, he's in a flashback. They do it.
Oh, did I miss this?
In the movie?
It was like, the credits rolled and it's like, got yourself a gun, and it flashes. No, you don't miss him actually dying. It cuts to black.
Yeah, but I thought
what I'm saying is that it cuts to black just the way it cut to black. Like, you don't see it coming. Like, that's The Sopranos. Tony's dead. So is Harold. And I feel like that also provided.
So do you think it was? So do you? But like Tony wasn't there. You think Tony killed him in that moment? Like he came up from out of nowhere.
I think he killed him down the road. Like you see.
No. I agree.
Tony
I agree. That
angrily staring at the casket, being upset. The Sopranos theme song starts to roll. It shows him getting made, like a flashback of him getting made, and then the next thing you see after that is Harold
with his
like
kid
doing whatever he's doing. He's acting fine. He like everything looks okay, and then it does get a little eerie, and then it cuts to black.
So I don't think
Tony
that's
didn't
as
kill
obvious
him, but
as
he's definitely dead.
I don't think that's as obvious.
I thought that was Harold's closure. I thought that was Harold's closure as a character since they didn't do it.
No, but I believe down the line, if it wasn't referred to, like if we got let's say a sequel series, I could see Tony killing Harold.
Yeah, I can
that
too.
That makes sense. That Tony breaks bad, obviously, because he wants to get revenge for Dickie. But I don't think it was that obvious.
Yeah, I don't think
you put my mind in a pretzel for a second.
Yeah, I think that's a possibility. I just don't think it's as obvious,
especially like because people didn't know like the whether Tony was dead after the cut to black until David Chase had said it recently. So like I understand. I actually like what you said. I think that's true. I could see Tony down the line killing this dude, but I didn't. You really enlightened me there. I had no idea what you were talking about for a sec. That's good.
But then Tony killing this dude, like Tony, I think the whole point, like, all right, I don't want to belabor this, but nobody knows who killed Dickie in the TV show The Sopranos. So why would Tony you're saying Tony could just kill this guy, not because of revenge of Dickie Moltisanti, but because, you're getting territory back for the Italians in Newark.
Maybe Tony knows. Maybe Tony knew.
No, but nobody knew in The Sopranos. Nobody knows. Tony just used that just to say to somebody.
No, I'm saying they had to have known, or they had to like have thought that it obviously wasn't Junior, that it was Howard.
Harold. But nobody. But in the TV show, nobody knew.
Maybe that's an ambiguous ending, just like the finale was supposed to be.
All right, then yeah, maybe.
That could be what it was. I didn't even. I was
did not expect this to come up.
I was too hung up on Corrado and like what just happened there, and I just thought it was okay. Harold, like, so I didn't think the closure was there, but now I'll have to rewatch that. That's a great point, Nez.
Must rewatch now.
You made me feel like a dummy. I was like, what did I do?
That's what Bobby says.
Yeah. Man, and then also we got to give credit. Hey, we had the 1.5 funeral over under. We smashed that over. Smashed the over on the 1.5 funeral.
Smashed it.
No hospital scenes though. No hospital.
Oh, that's true.
I can recall. Yeah, so we couldn't parlay those two. All right. Any other thoughts on the spoilers before we go on?
Well, that's it, right? No top.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know if anyone had any final thoughts. Many Saints in Newark. Start of a huge stretch for the Drive-In podcast.
Yeah.
Ricky, you final thoughts here?
I thought it was
another
good.
Hot take.
No. I think the hottest take of the night was right there. But
I think you guys just completely missed it.
I guess.
I think
I haven't seen that being talked about anywhere.
Because that was the first thing that I thought of.
Yeah, I know. Wow. That's what I'm saying. Like, but that would have been all over Twitter.
Yeah.
Right?
I think that would have been.
They would have made.
So.
Dude, I think Nez, what you should do is write a blog about it.
Yeah, and then start this.
You're right.
Then David Chase will just take it and run with it.
That would get some page views for sure.
Yeah,
No doubt.
I'm scouring the internet now to see if anybody else felt the same way.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm gonna rewatch that scene now.
I guess I'll say this to kind of round it out here. This is a solid movie. The double review today, Venom, 90 million at the box office. We said on the checkup on Monday. If you haven't seen that, like the full checkup, go on YouTube, drive in, check out our checkup. So jam-packed. Awesome checkup there. But Bond this week already beat in its release in the UK. It beat out Spectre and Skyfall's opening day at the opening weekend at the box office.
Movie theaters are back.
So it's projected to beat Venom, and Venom highest grossing earning since March 2020 movie at the box office. And we're just getting big blockbusters the rest of the year. Almost every single weekend is a huge movie or just an Oscar contender. So you got to stay tuned with us. Check up on YouTube Mondays and Fridays, and also on Tuesdays on the podcast form. And we'll be reviewing the movies here.
Hell yeah. Follow us on social media now that we know it still exists at the Drive-In Pod, on Twitter, on Instagram, on TikTok. We are the Drive-In on Facebook, YouTube. Check us out. We're bringing it every week, 3 times a week. How are you? Until next time, we will smell you.